Find insight, guidance, and answers. Tune into Spirit with radio medium Laura Lee.
If you're having a mental health crisis, this is the episode for you. This is Laura Lee and your 5-minute spiritual reboot. I'd like to welcome my special guest, Dr. Leanne Whitney, transformational coach and author of Consciousness in Jung and Patanjali. I've always felt like I could never say that correctly.
I say Patanjali, but
Patanjali,
yeah.
Right. Dr. Whitney, right now there is an epidemic of suicide, and we have that enmeshed with climate change and our political divide, especially here in the United States. It is happening worldwide, but my question to you, what's at the heart of this issue?
Well, definitely looking through the lens of yoga psychology. I mean, yoga philosophy is the philosophy of union, of integration. And what that means is really at the base of all the multiplicity of phenomena, we're actually all one. That there's a unity, which is another way to say that is the absolute. It's truth. It's reality with a capital R. And if we develop a culture or we build systems of thought that aren't rooted in that knowledge of the absolute, of the truth, of the unity of beingness, and we fracture and our mind splits. We have dissociation, we have disconnection in the mind and body. We see that very significantly in Euro-American culture in particular. Yoga philosophy and psychology really helps us see inside why the dilemma, why the emergency, why the suffering, because we're misunderstanding our beingness at the core of who we are. We really need a full-on spiritual reboot.
Consciousness in Jung and Patanjali, how are they really applicable together, though, in this moment?
They're both aimed for the amelioration of human suffering. Suffering in and of itself is the marker. You don't have to suffer like this. It's a guardrail to say, wait a minute, there's something that you're misunderstanding. There's something that you don't know, that you're unaware of. Patanjali doesn't call it shadow work, but he definitely calls it looking into subtle levels of thought, being able to discern what you're thinking. What we need to learn as a culture is how to think. We're taught what to think, and our minds get filled with systems of thought. But we're not taught how to think, how to use the mental, physical, emotional connection. So
I think intuition is part of that.
Intuition is a big part of the healing process.
So what do you think is necessary for the deep transformation? Everybody pull out a yoga mat and do yoga? What do you think is the key for deep transformation?
Yes, the yoga mat, but the postures are a metaphor for the psychology. So what the postures are pointing us to, again, is that underlying link between the breath, the nervous system, and the body. Where are we suffering from anxiety? Where are we stressed out? And of course, as a culture, we're under extreme stress. I think the statistics are something like 70% of the American population is taking one biopharmaceutical drug. 40% is taking two. And breathing practices are really crucial. Getting that breath linked to the nervous system, linked to the body, I think is a fantastic way to start.
You spoke about breathing. Is that one of the key tools that you would recommend to any one of your students or patients?
Absolutely. I teach pranayama is a nice slow 5 count on the inhale, pause for 2, and then exhale for a count of 6. So you want to extend the exhale and then pause again for 2 and repeat 3 times. And what that particular breath work is doing is developing good vagal tone. The vagus nerve runs from our cranium all the way to our gut. It's really important. And right now, with the crisis that we're in, we want to discern the cultural piece from the existential piece. The culture where the problems are sitting, that's where the veils are. That's where misunderstanding is taking place. When you can see the cultural piece and differentiate it from the existential piece, that can be a big turning moment.
Would you say that's your big takeaway?
I would say that is a big takeaway. And yoga teaches us that concentration, meditation, and an absorption will teach us about the mind.
It was a pleasure. Dr. Leanne Whitney, where can anyone who's interested find the book Consciousness in
Jung and Patanjali? Yes, the work of Carl Jung and depth psychology and yoga both are a big part of my practice. My website, leannewhitney.com.
Thank you for sharing your time with me. And if you'd like to call into the show, go to radiomediumlauralee.com. And thank you for subscribing to the podcast and sharing the show. We appreciate you.